I'm Sharon Tazwell. Here's your Spectrum News in 90. A jury is seated in the federal gun trial against Hunter Biden. Several potential jurors were dismissed because they know the Bidens have strong political leanings or have family members who struggled with addiction. Hunter's accused of illegally purchasing a gun while abusing drugs. He has pleaded not guilty to 3 charges. Opening statements will start tomorrow. Dr. Anthony Fauci testifies Monday in his first public appearance on Capitol Hill since leaving the government in 2022. Republican lawmakers questioned Fauci over the basis for public health recommendations during the pandemic and email used by public health officials.
The accusation being circulated that I influenced these scientists to change their minds by bribing them with millions of dollars in grant money is absolutely false.
Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu is expected to address Congress next week. The announcement comes after the more Israeli hostages held by Hamas. Roughly 80 hostages captured on October 7th are believed to be alive, along with remains of 43 others. Meantime, new Israeli airstrikes have killed nearly 20 people in the enclave. Over 36,000 Palestinians have died since the war began. Those are your headlines now. Here's a look at your weather on the ones.
Hi there, I'm meteorologist Robert Santos. Well, the storms to start off the week down in the southern U.S., but as we go throughout Tuesday, that's going to start to shift to the north. Not so much during the morning hours. You could see it here developing right around the Dakotas just before noon and then moving across towards the Midwest. So we're going to be watching out for the potential for some damaging winds, some hail in those areas there. It's temperature starting like this: Milwaukee 68, 69 Columbus, 58 Boston, and then 70 degrees in Boston, warm in Milwaukee and Columbus, 80s.
Another historic trial, this time taking place in Wilmington, Delaware. Thanks for joining us. I'm Sharon Tazwell. A jury of 10 women and 6 men will decide Hunter Biden's fate after being seated in his federal gun trial. The judge confirms opening statements will begin Tuesday morning. It's the first time in American history that the child of a sitting president is on trial. Hunter is accused of illegally purchasing and possessing a gun while abusing drugs, a violation of federal law. The indictment was brought by special counsel David Weiss, who was appointed last year to oversee the Hunter Biden probes. Hunter has pleaded not guilty to the 3 charges, but he has been open about his struggles with alcohol and crack cocaine addiction. Spectrum's Taylor Populares joins us from outside the courthouse in Wilmington, Delaware. Taylor, break down the key moments from day.
Yeah, well, Sharon, this was all about jury selection. Our producer, Ashley Gallagher, spent hours inside the courtroom. This is a federal case, so phones and cameras are not allowed. So she was literally writing hand-paged notes and then coming out during breaks to update us on what was happening. Overall, over almost 70 prospective jurors were heard from throughout the day. They were asked a bunch of questions about where they get their news, how much they know about the Biden family, if they feel they can hear this case in a fair way. And ultimately, 16 people were selected, 12 jurors, and then 4 alternates. The breakdown is 10 women, 6 men, 7 of them are white, 9 of them are black. And our producer, Ashley, says they range in age from some who just graduated from college up to much older adults. So it's a pretty diverse group of people, and they're now going to be the jury for this case.
And with opening statements set for tomorrow, what can we expect to see?
Lay out their opening statements and to present to the jury their case for the prosecution, why they feel that Hunter Biden knowingly lied as he was struggling with his drug addiction and purchased this gun back in 2018. And on the defense side, they've made clear that they feel that Biden had just gone through rehab and that he believed that he was sober at the time that he purchased this weapon. He only ended up owning it for 11 days. His partner at the time ended up throwing it out because she was concerned about his mental health. So it'll be interesting to hear both sides kind of paint their initial case. We expect this trial to last at least a week, so we'll kind of be hearing just behind closed doors what they're telling the jury, and then we'll try to pick apart what they're saying and what it could mean moving forward.
All right, Taylor Populares in Wilmington, Delaware. Thanks for your time. An appeals court in Georgia sets a tentative October date to hear arguments in Donald Trump's effort to have Fulton County District Attorney Fani Willis removed past Election Day. Briefs from defense attorneys in the case are due in 20 days. Dr. Anthony Fauci faced heated questioning from Republican lawmakers Monday about the origins of the COVID-19 pandemic. The Republican-led subcommittee has spent more than a year investigating the nation's response to the pandemic and whether the U.S. funding research in China may have played a part in how it started. Republicans questioned the credibility of his former agency, the National Institutes of Health, and questioned the science behind advice such as social distancing. House lawmakers have also accused Fauci of lying to Congress when he denied that his agency funded gain-of-function research at a lab in Wuhan. Fauci continues to deny the virus originated from a lab.
Dr. Fauci, whether intentional or not, you became so powerful that any disagreements the public had with you.
The second issue is a false accusation that I tried to cover up the possibility that the virus originated from a lab. In fact, the truth is exactly the opposite.
Democrats opened the hearing saying the investigation has so far found no evidence that Fauci did anything wrong. President Joe Biden is expected to make a major policy change on asylum policy this week as he looks to address a major political vulnerability ahead of the presidential election. But the sweeping changes could alienate progressives and other immigration advocates. Our national reporter Evan Kozlov breaks down the politics of this proposed change.
The White House has not yet announced the details of this executive action, but according to the Associated Press, it's likely to restrict asylum. Several people familiar with the decision telling the AP it would give President Joe Biden the authority to shut down the southern border to migrants when illegal crossing would apply to unaccompanied children who would be exempt.
Immigration is not a partisan issue.
Mayor Norma Sepulveda from Harlingen, Texas, is one of many South Texas mayors invited to the White House on Tuesday for the announcement. Spectrum News spoke to her at the airport on her way to Washington. She said ultimately Congress needs to act on larger immigration reform.
It's unfortunate that executive action has to even be something that's considered, but at the end of the day, if Congress isn't going to act, we do need to have powers in the executive to be able to do what needs to get done to be able to support South Texas.
In a statement, the White House made a similar argument, blaming Republicans who rejected a bipartisan border security plan earlier this year, in part to prevent Biden from getting a policy victory. The White House writing, while congressional Republicans chose to stand in the way of additional border enforcement, President Biden will not stop fighting to deliver the resources that border and immigration personnel need to secure our border. Biden is imposing many of the same kinds of border restrictions that he previously opposed ago, but illegal border crossings surged to record levels last year, creating intense political pressure on Biden to do something.
Every state is now a border state.
On the campaign trail, former President Donald Trump has called for strict border security measures, including mass deportations of migrants in this country illegally. But attempting to solve one political problem could be creating a new one for Biden. By imposing tough new measures at the border, Biden risks alienating progressive supporters who are a key part of his political coalition. In Washington, I'm Evan Kozlov, Spectrum News.
Israel and Hamas continue to face pressure to respond to a ceasefire proposal amid more deadly strikes. What Israel has to say about the plan to end the war, just ahead on Spectrum News.
Dedicated to refreshing storytelling and empowering communities across the nation. With balanced reporting, providing real context and in-depth coverage 24 hours a day.
Here's a look at your forecast across the country.
Local stories, connecting communities. We are Spectrum News Plus. Streaming now on the Spectrum News app and free with your Spectrum subscription.
At Spectrum, we know how much you depend on the reliability of our products and services. Now, we've taken a new step forward in reliability by identifying potential service issues before they become a problem. If you're affected, we'll contact you and help schedule a free service appointment with one of our expert technicians. The proactive maintenance of our network is one of the many reasons Spectrum delivers the most reliable internet speeds in the nation. Spectrum, keeping you connected.
Because I didn't want to work these back-breaking jobs the rest of my life. With the help of my father and having my son, that was all the motivation that I needed to come back to school. I felt accomplished, made me feel that I could take on whatever challenges life throws at you.
Find free adult education classes near you at finishyourdiploma.org. When I was in foster care, I never knew when I would have to move, so I always had my suitcase ready to go. Then one day, I was adopted. My new parents opened their hearts and home to me. My parents cook my favorite breakfast for me every morning. My parents take me on trips I never thought I would go on. They gave me a home and an even better reason to use that suitcase. My parents aren't perfect, but they're perfect for me.
The threat for severe weather to start off the week right in the southern U.S. Hi there, meteorologist Robert Santos. Once we get to Tuesday, that threat's going to shift to the east. So now we're talking about states in Minnesota, a little bit of Wisconsin, Iowa, Kansas, Missouri, all seeing the possibility here for some strong to severe storms, potentially bringing some large hail and some damaging winds. And you can see right here as we go to Tuesday, 12 o'clock Central Time, starting to form around the Dakotas, those storms, and then they'll start to move across the Midwest. You'll see a smattering of storms, too, across the south there. As we go through Tuesday night into Wednesday, you'll see some of that will push into the northeast. Now, notice the western half of the country. As we go into Wednesday night into early Thursday, now the northeast, you'll get in on some of the rain there. Pretty heavy at times. Okay, so now let's take a look at the severe weather outlook for Wednesday. So far, there is no threat for some severe weather on that day. We'll keep you posted if things do change. Look at the next 3 days here in Minneapolis. I've got rain for you on Tuesday. Temperatures, the warmest there, and then gradually dropping. You see here Tuesday right around 76 degrees. St. Louis, Missouri, a wet couple of days off and on. Your temperature staying in the 80s. Thursday, much sunnier, and those temperatures bumping up into the upper 80s. And for Cincinnati, Ohio, I've got thunderstorms for you on Wednesday. Temperature staying here in the 80s, but your Tuesday, your Thursday, drier weather with partly sunny conditions. For Portland, Oregon, rain on Tuesday, the coolest for the next 3, and then notice the warm-up hit 80 degrees on Thursday. And for Los Angeles, a warm-up taking place as well. Not so much at the basin, but we're talking about more average temperatures. You go a little farther inland in Southern California, let's say the Inland Empire or the valleys, that's where temperatures will be getting into the upper 80s and low 90s.
Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu is expected to address Congress June 13th. The announcement comes just hours after Israeli military confirmed the deaths of 4 Israeli hostages in Hamas captivity. Meanwhile, in Gaza, new Israeli airstrikes killed nearly 20 people Monday. That's according to Palestinian health officials. Spectrum's Carla Reddit has the latest on the war as the U.S. says Hamas is the only thing standing in the way of a ceasefire.
Israel's military released footage Monday showing its forces operating in the Gaza Strip as Israel continues to expand its offensive in the southern Gaza to respond to a ceasefire proposal.
That's the offer that's now on the table and what we've been asking for. It's what we need.
President Biden speaking Friday of a new ceasefire plan that includes the release of all hostages held by Hamas over 3 phases. Sunday, White House National Security Council spokesperson John Kirby spoke about the next step.
Where we are right now is that proposal, an Israeli proposal, has been given to Hamas. It was done on Thursday night, our time. We're waiting for an official response from Hamas. We would note that publicly, Hamas officials came out and welcomed this proposal.
However, Monday, Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu said the claim that Israel agreed to a ceasefire without its conditions being met is not true. The White House denies any gaps in the proposal, but Netanyahu insists Israel will. Meanwhile, mourners held Islamic funeral prayers Monday morning for the men, women, and children reportedly killed in 2 separate Israeli airstrikes in central Gaza. This as Israel faces growing international criticism over the huge cost in civilian lives and the widespread destruction caused by its nearly 8-month war with Hamas. Carla Reddit, Spectrum News.
Vice President Kamala Harris is set to represent the U.S. at this month's Global Peace Summit in Switzerland. It'll focus on the war in Ukraine. The event is being promoted by Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky. It comes after Zelensky alleged China is helping Russia undermine the conference by pressuring other countries and their leaders to not attend. The families of the victims of the Sandy Hook Elementary School shooting are asking a judge to liquidate Alex Jones's media company. It's to pay the $1.1 filed an emergency motion Sunday in a bankruptcy court, calling for the liquidation instead of allowing the conspiracy theorists to reorganize his company's finances. Jones's company, Free Speech Systems, filed for bankruptcy in 2022. Ohio is among the top 10 states with the most motor vehicle thefts, according to a study by MarketWatch. Spectrum's Cassidy Wilson gives us an inside look on the recent numbers across the state and some tips on trying to prevent break-ins from occurring.
Since January, nearly 2,000 stolen cars were reported to the Cleveland Division of Police. Their crime trends database shows the majority of the car thefts happen in broad daylight. And not only are car thefts an issue, break-ins are too. Lakewood Police Captain Gary Stone says this has been an ongoing problem.
It is a problem that goes on in communities where there's many parked cars out on the street, many cars parked in driveways.
And while they're impossible to compare, is the best and most important defense against this crime.
You'd be surprised at the amount of people that don't lock their car doors at night. That makes it an easy target for the perpetrator. They just open the door, reach inside, go through property, look for change, look for money, look for briefcases, bags, things like that.
Break-ins are not just an issue in Northeast Ohio, but all over the state. Last month in Columbus, police say at least 10 cars were broken into outside the mall at Tuttle Crossing. And in Southwest Ohio, police confirmed there were at least 80 car break-ins in Blue Ash over a recent 30-day span. Captain Stone says to never approach someone who looks suspicious by your car. Just call the police.
Stay from where inside your home or where you're calling from and wait for the police to get there.
And while it may seem like common sense, Captain Stone says the perpetrator is less likely to break into your car if they don't see anything of value.
Don't leave can be seen by the outside.
For Spectrum News, I'm Cassidy Wilson.
A beloved Spanish teacher awarded a prestigious award. How she's bringing the world into her classroom one lesson at a time. That's coming up right here on Spectrum News.
Here's the deal. In this election year, people need a place to explore national issues that have an impact on their community. To understand those issues better, we're bringing together our team of local political journalists from across the country to break down what's happening. So join us every week to catch up on the key stories making a big difference across the nation and in your local community.
Watch The Big Deal with Errol Lewis Friday nights at 9 Eastern, 8 Central on Spectrum News Plus. Available on all of...
Okay, Dad. 1, 2, 3. You saved me. Dad?
Are you okay?
I'm fine, dear.
Your hero needs you now, and AARP is here to help. Find the care guides you need at aarp.org/caregiving.
I don't remember how it started.
Go to that.
Our back and forth. It always came back.
Dad!
You probably don't remember what you told me,
That was perfect.
but I heard every word.
Well, if you're going to be traveling for Tuesday and wondering where the storms will be, we'll be focused on the Central Plains and the Middle Mississippi Valley there. The biggest threats we're looking at, large hail and some damage, and also Texas once again. And for the West, not so much for Tuesday and not so much for Seattle, Portland. We're talking about 60s there with some rain, but it will start to warm up around midweek. We'll get temperatures in Portland. It would be getting up into the 80s. And for LA, 76 degrees there. Basically, it's been so cool for the month of May, and so these temperatures are just coming right back closer to average. But if you go interior, let's say, into the interior Southern California area, like the valleys or the Inland Empire, that's where those temperatures will be in the 90s, and then the deserts into the triple digits. Dallas, certainly in the 90s. Same thing for Austin, upper 90s. Louisville, 80s for your temperatures with some rain in the forecast. All the areas in yellow and red, as you might know, and orange, we're talking about warmer than average temperatures, especially here. We're talking about almost 10 degrees above average. You look at Seattle and Portland, 5 to 9 degrees below average, and right around the southwest, including Phoenix. So the southwest, there's excessive heat warnings and watches all across there, and interior California as well. 80s for Topeka, St. Louis, and Memphis. 90s, as I mentioned, down in Dallas and Austin and Houston. But you factor in the humidity here, and these temperatures will easily feel like it's going to be in the triple digits once again. So be sure you're extra safe, especially for those of you who are still in school or having to work in that kind of weather. Look at Dallas over the next several, let's go for the next 7 days. 89 is your average. You'll be above that for all of this. And the warmest temperatures you could see there Thursday, Saturday, basically around the mid 90s. San Antonio, though, we've got triple-digit temperatures for the next 6 days. So it's going to be very hot, so make sure you're being extra safe. Boston, Massachusetts, 72 is your average. The warmest will be Wednesday at 84, otherwise right at average or below. For Portland, the weekend, it'll still be warm, so if you have any outdoor activities, it'll be warmer than average. We're talking about 10 degrees above average on that Saturday, but another sign that summer is getting close.
Parts of California were rocked by 5 earthquakes within hours over the weekend. According to the U.S. Geological Survey, 4 of them were ranked having a magnitude of 3 or higher. There are no reports of any injuries. Residents in Alum Rock were struck by a 3.4 magnitude quake. Now, just 2 hours later, a quake at the same magnitude hit South Pasadena. Well, 2.5 and a 3 magnitude quake also shook towns outside Sacramento. Spotify is raising its prices for the second time in a year. Starting in July, subscribers will pay $1 plans, and family plans will also see increases. According to the audio streaming giants, the price hikes will help it invest in its features for a better user experience. Well, the #1 ranked tennis player in the world has unlocked a new record, winning the most Grand Slam matches in history. Novak Djokovic took on #23 ranked Francisco Cerundolo during the French Open 4th round on Monday. Well, despite trailing and dealing with a knee injury, Djokovic was able to come back to win and advance in the tournament. This was his 370th match win at a Grand Slam, breaking a tie with Roger Federer. A Spanish teacher in Wisconsin has earned the title of the state's Global Educator of the Year. Spectrum's Rhonda Fox shows us how she merges her love for language and culture to bring other countries to her classroom.
Jody Resch Brownell says she's a travel addict to Spanish-speaking countries, one place in particular.
I really love Mexico. I've been back there like over 20 times to all different places, and I just love the people and the culture.
It's because of her love of the Spanish culture, Senora Brownell is recognized as Wisconsin's Global Educator of the Year.
Y esta persona está muy tranquilo ahora.
Brownell brings her love of places like the Mexican city, Oaxaca, into the classroom through her YouTube videos and field trips. She's also helping her students build relationships with students in Colombia through online international learning.
My students give the Colombian students instructions on how to make an American recipe, and then the Colombian students will make the recipe and document it, and then we'll do the reverse.
It's these experiences Bryce Marshall says he appreciates.
Outside of Crandon, but she is teaching the culture of the Spanish-speaking countries to us, so we understand the true culture and not just how to speak the Spanish language.
Josh Yeager, principal of Crandon High School, says Brownell is so imaginative with her students because she's been teaching for 28 years. Yeager is a former student of Brownell.
It is definitely strange at first having, working with your fellow or your former teachers. Senora Brownell is a phenomenal educator, has always been, and it is amazing that she's finally getting recognized for all of her efforts she has put forth.
For Brownell, teaching Spanish is the best job in the world, and she hopes her students learn this life lesson.
Is for kids not to be afraid to have adventures or to go interact with people who are different from them.
Jody Resch Brownell, a dedicated educator, bringing global learning into her Crandon News.
Thanks for watching. I'm Sharon Tazwell. Your Spectrum News at 90 is coming up right after this short break. Stay with us.
At Spectrum News, we're committed to strengthening the fabric of local communities through our reporting, with stories that inspire and news that matters. Streaming live, you step outside with the Spectrum News mobile app, keeping you informed and in the know throughout your day. Spectrum News Plus, local stories connecting communities. Exclusively for Spectrum customers. Now available on your favorite devices.
At Spectrum, our workforce of over 100,000 employees are all located right here in the U.S. You can find them in our stores, in the field, and in our call centers with 100% U.S.-based customer service. Our team works hard to provide the towns, cities, and neighborhoods they live in with the reliable services that everyone counts on, making us one of America's most trusted companies. We're Spectrum, creating jobs and opportunities across the country, and proud to be 100% U.S.-based.
Today I'm going to talk to you about physics. Come on in, girls. Let's go. This is the first rocket to get humans to Mars. Structural engineer, designing and building parts of the rocket. You are the generation that will be stepping foot on Mars. Do I have a group of astronauts on my hands? Yes. You can become a rocket scientist or whatever else you want to be.
Here you go.
Thank you.
Thank you.